You've probably heard all the headlines about teacher shortages and the challenges in our classrooms. But what if I told you that behind all of that, there's a much more personal and frankly systemic crisis going on? It's called teacher burnout, and it's something that goes way beyond the school walls. And you know what? It ends up affecting every single one of us.
Just take a second and let that sink in. A bulletproof backpack. That's not a line from some gritty TV show. That's the reality for Lisa Williams, a teacher who gave 23 years of her life to the profession she loved before she finally had to walk away. Her story, well, it's a powerful window into why so many of our most dedicated educators are hitting their breaking point. Lisa's story isn't just about one person. It's really a case study of the incredible pressures that are hollowing out the teaching profession from the inside. If we really want to understand this crisis, we have to understand what could possibly drive a 23-year veteran to finally say, "That's it, I'm not going back." The sheer weight of this stuff is just staggering. I mean, can you imagine working an extra 4 hours every single night and another 10 hours on weekends just to keep your head above water with grading policies, and then there's the constant fear. Keeping the classroom door locked, having a can of wasp spray in your desk just in case for self-defense. And the pressure wasn't just in the school. It came from all sides, from being physically blocked in a Walmart parking lot by a furious parent to feeling completely ignored by administrators and board policies. It's just not sustainable. Okay, so Lisa's story gives us the human side of it all. That's what it feels like. Now, let's zoom out a bit and look at the clinical definition of the very thing that drove her and thousands of others to quit.
The World Health Organization is really clear on this. Burnout isn't just about feeling tired or being stressed out. No, it's a specific syndrome. It's what happens when you're dealing with chronic stress at work that, and this is the key phrase, has not been successfully managed. And that points the finger directly at the environment, not just the individual.
So here's how it breaks down. Burnout isn't just one thing. It has three distinct parts. First, you've got emotional exhaustion, that bone-deep feeling of having absolutely nothing left to give. That then leads to the second part, depersonalization. It's where you start to feel detached, almost cynical, toward the very people you're there to help, your students. And finally, all of that leads to a feeling of reduced personal accomplishment, where you start to feel like you're incompetent and that nothing you do even matters. It's a really devastating cycle.
And Lisa Williams' experience? It's not an outlier, not by a long shot. The things that led to her burnout, well, they're symptoms of huge, system-wide pressures that are pushing the entire field of education to a boiling point. This number is it's incredible, 90%. Let's be really clear about what this means. In 2022, a full 90% of the need for new teachers came from educators who are leaving for reasons other than retirement. So this isn't about an aging workforce heading for the exits. This is an exodus. These are teachers in the middle of their careers actively choosing to leave, and that creates a massive void that's almost impossible to fill.
And one of those pressures that's getting worse is violence. A national survey by the American Psychological Association found that physical violence from students against teachers jumped significantly after the pandemic. Before COVID, 42% of teachers reported an incident. After restrictions were lifted, that number shot all the way up to 56%.
But look at this. Look at where the aggression is actually coming from. Yeah, students are at the top of the list, but a shocking 63% of teachers reported verbal or threatening aggression from parents, and almost half said they faced it from their own colleagues and administrators. I mean, the pressure's coming from all sides, creating this hostile environment from within the system itself. So when you boil all the research down, you see the same three core stressors pop up again and again. First, a deep, profound lack of support from administrators that leaves teachers feeling totally on their own. Second, that crushing, unsustainable workload, basically an expectation of constant unpaid labor. And third, a real erosion of trust, with policies that constantly question their professional expertise and their autonomy. Okay, so this is obviously a huge crisis for teachers. But why should it matter to the rest of us, especially if you don't have kids in school? Well, because what happens to teachers doesn't stay in the teacher's lounge. It ripples right out into the classroom and affects our kids. So let's ask the question directly, right? How does a teacher's mental and emotional state actually impact student learning and development? Well, the connection is way clearer and more direct than you might think.
The link is just undeniable. Researchers have drawn a straight line from each one of those dimensions of burnout to negative outcomes for students. So when a teacher is emotionally exhausted, student academic achievement goes down. When a teacher becomes depersonalized and distant, students just check out. And when a teacher loses that sense of effectiveness, you see more disruptive behavior in the classroom. It's a direct cause and effect.
And this right here, this reveals something really important. A major study found that even when teachers thought they were doing a good job of hiding their burnout, their students saw right through it. The kids are incredibly aware of the change in the room, that lack of connection. A lot of the time, they recognize the signs of burnout even better than the teachers themselves do. All right, so we've laid out the problem, we've looked at the data, and we understand the stakes. This is huge. The really important question now is, what can we actually do about it? What are the pathways forward to stop this exodus and build a more resilient teaching force? The research is pretty clear on this. There is no single magic bullet. The solution has to come from two directions at once. We have to fix the systemic failures that create these conditions for burnout in the first place, and we have to give individual teachers the tools they need to build their own resilience.
So on the system side, the solutions are actually pretty straightforward, even if they're not easy to implement. First, administrators have to provide real support, not just policies on paper, but actual mentorship and recognition. Second, schools need to offer professional development that actually helps teachers manage stress. And third, you have to intentionally build a positive school community, a place where teachers feel connected and valued.
And for individual teachers, the research points to a kind of resilience toolkit. This starts with the basics, right? Prioritizing self-care to prevent exhaustion. It also includes using positive self-talk to manage stress, intentionally building up a support network of colleagues, and taking an active problem-solving approach instead of just letting challenges fester. So in the end, it really all comes down to this. The stories are heartbreaking, the research is crystal clear. We know what causes teacher burnout, we know how it hurts our kids, and we know what it takes to fix it. The real question isn't about what teachers need. The question is whether we, as parents, as community members, as a society, are finally willing to provide it.